Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody watching now and join us on the Open Business Council Summit hosted by City ABC. First of all, I would like to thank you all to join us today for this exciting panel. We have today one of the top thought leaders and experts in their respective industry. We have Mr. Daniel Steeves, is the CEO of Steeves Solution, and we have Armando Gonzalez, the CEO of Ravenpack. Unfortunately, we're missing one of the speakers. I hope he's okay. I believe they have some urgent thing. He couldn't join us today. But never mind, we will have more time to also share with you our insight here between us, actually three. We have around like 100 years of experience to share with you about industry insights and know-how and tips, what we gather all over this many years of working experience. I would like also to thank all the team of City ABC and Open Council to make this opportunity happen, and together like over the 120 experts worldwide have this opportunity for us here to be here today and share our thought and view on different interesting area. I would like first to start with a short introduction from our speakers, and I'll introduce shortly myself, and we kickstart the panel today. Please, Daniel, can you please tell us a little bit about your background, your experience, what have you been doing in the last couple of years or last 40 years of experience?
Well, we promised to do this as a short story, so I won't cover it so much. I'm a Canadian. I live in Germany, have been for the last 5 or 6 years. Prior to that, it was about 12 years in London and a few years in the Middle East. I do a lot of work with the Asian continent and with Africa, particularly in Nigeria. Started off as a deep skilled techie programmer 40 years ago. Ended up being an architect of solutions, always trying to figure out the right way to apply technology. Am I clear?
Yes, yes.
And these days I work an awful lot, well, over the past 10 years with startups in and around fintech, blockchain, and very interested in decentralized finance and trying to figure out ways that we can do things that should be done the right way for the right reasons at everybody's benefit, not social viewpoint really, but how capitalism is supposed to work, so a whole bunch of people gain. And it's interesting because to me this idea of the fourth industrial revolution, I'm not sure when anybody says it exactly started. There's a lot of different dates, but I find that it's kind of been ongoing since, say, 1980, and I don't think that there's any number that changes because it's just vast and broad. So I'm open to argue if I've got that one wrong too. Thanks.
Can you give us a short background about yourself and your experience?
Yeah, happy to. So I'm Armando Gonzalez. I'm the CEO and co-founder of Ravenpack, and we specialize in artificial intelligence and big data for financial applications. I started working in AI over 20 years ago, became very passionate about its potential and learned very early about its shortcomings, and turned it into an objective of mine to try to build technology that actually made a difference and proved a lot of the things that I read in comic books or that I saw in science fiction movies, where I was fascinated by the idea that we could create a form of intelligence smarter than ours. And today I dedicate most of my time to developing products and in helping firms that look to automate very complicated analytical tasks. And we serve a very large elite financial industry that has very hard financial problems, and they need AI to help them understand the complex world that they operate in. And keeping it short, I'm an American, but I live in Spain, and I've been living in Europe for a very long time now. Very excited about the space, about the talk, about this fourth industrial revolution, if you may, and what it's all about, and what's in store for us. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you very much, Armando. Okay, let me give you a short introduction about myself. My name is Aghiath Chbib. Actually, my roller coasters journey started in Germany like 22 years ago. As an entrepreneur, I have experience in co-founding 3 companies. I am an award-winning expert in cybersecurity and recognized as one of the top 50 global thought leaders and top 15 cybersecurity influencers to follow. I am also a global advisory board member for CH, Certified Ethical Hackers partner and board member as Tech ABC. It's the AI and blockchain technology firm based in the UK. And CEO of SEECRA, cybersecurity consultancy company. And currently I am working with Bionics, where I found my personal passion for building really life-saving disruptive technology that improve people's lives. This is a nutshell about myself, and without any further delay, I would like to start our panel. The discussion will be today in our panelists. We will talk about different subjects and the point of view from our panelists here today. What tip they can give us and what trick they can give us in this short time, limited time. About different technologies such as big data analytic, Internet of Things, 5G, all of this technology. It's a big buzzword, and it's really changing and reinventing the way we are interconnected. We would like to hear from our panelists their point of view. How can the businesses can benefit out of this? Especially, there's a lot of studies saying like 80% of leading European business are saying that digital transformation is currently strategy for them. On the other hand, like 21% of these businesses, they are not really having a strong strategy in cybersecurity. They don't, a lot of strategy also fail, unfortunately. We would like to know the pro and con and how we can benefit from this in terms of improving and benefiting the businesses and SME to utilize this tech to their benefit. Daniel, Armando, we would like to keep this discussion really open. Just give your opinion, your point of view, and let's have it a very interactive panel that we can really feed our viewer today as much as we can of insight, tips, the mistake what we did, and the success what we had, really to share it with them today. You want to start, Daniel, or? You are muted. Daniel?
Okay, now I'm not muted. So thank you very much, and interesting introduction from my colleagues here on the panel that really moves well into what you're talking about from transformation. I mean, I didn't pitch myself for what I do in my business, but that is kind of my trade these days, is working with companies to transform, to grow. And sometimes it's I look at a product and I see it could be a different product, or it could be sold in a different place to a different way. But it always comes back to this purpose I had instilled from the old days of you're writing code. It was actually expensive back then, and you had to have a purpose for it, right? So Armando with AI and that space has always been around the fringes at at a minimum of work that I do, but how he's using it to connect into data, which is a practical application of it, and then you take that and it ends up with a business purpose, in this case serving large financial clients looking for insights and statistics, etc., to operate their waves with. So it always comes back to that business purpose. When I was in college, I mean, there's a lot of this where we were discussion that needs to happen, I think, to position transformation. So just bear with me for a minute on this. When I was in college in the old days taking business and computer science, I was really quite good at accounting, and I was really quite good at this programming stuff. And I looked at the programming stuff and I thought, well, if people do this right, we don't need those accounting guys, right? So here, like 40 years later, we have more accounting guys than we ever had. We don't have computers that are actually machines in the critical basic definition of something that we use and put energy in to get better output. Most of the time it's constant expenses, it's constant growth, it's constant demand. So has IT enabled businesses, or does IT and technology and connectivity force them to spend more money? I mean, if you're selling shoes and half or 3/4 of what you sell gets returned to you, can data help you to do something with that? Or is it just the people who take advantage of what's available to them, right? So we never got rid of accountants, and I don't know. We've created more problems, we've created more jobs, we've created more opportunities. AI and figuring out data and how to give better answers has got to be a critical part of it. But transformation for a lot of businesses, the ones that you're talking about in the news, is just, oh, I have to suddenly sell my my fish and beef restaurant items by Deliveroo or Lieferando or by taxi service or whatever. I have to figure out how can I book online and schedule appointments for hairdressing and things like that, where there's not too many people lined up like they used to be, and so on and so forth. So transformation can be at a small level. Transformation is we're partaking in elements of it that has been around for years, that is just getting better. We're having a multiple conversation between us with an audience listening. Right, so all of these things are transformation, and how you use them without abusing either the tech or the people behind it. So everybody needs it, and I wonder how what Armando does can work at a smaller scale as well in bulk, or is that part of the vision? Because the more people that these benefits can reach.
And allow me before to give the stage to Armando and give his point of view on this. Just to summarize my point of view on this subject, what you, Daniel, very well described. But if I want to put it like really in simple word, the tech is there. It is just to improve our productivity actually, and just to make our life more easier. We still need the human. We still need the accountant actually to do the real job. But we have all these tools which is make his life easier. Same for digital transformation in government application or e-government, that instead of you go and queue and waste time, you'll do all your application securely, hopefully online, without to leave your house. Online shopping. It's all, the back end of it is supported by digital transformation, by all this IT, what you just mentioned, Daniel, that it is there to serve us, to make our life more productive and to focus on what's most matter, telehealth consultation, like healthcare, instead of going to the doctor. And now it is have been booming in the last year, again, because of COVID. And this opened a lot of opportunity for many telehealth provider. But to be honest with you, I see it as a huge benefit also for me personally. I'm using this because like 75% of the doctor visit, you don't need to go to a doctor. You can do it over video consultation, what we do now. And this is I believe, the real value of digital transformation, real value of how we can put the IT to serve us, not as a burden for us and problem. With all this security issues coming up with confidentiality, data integrity, and the big data, what we have and need to deal with it, where I believe if we're talking about this, Armando will be the right person to give also his point of view on this matter.
Yeah, thanks. I mean, I would probably start off by saying that the digital transformation is actually, going much slower than people might think. For starters, almost 90% of the world's big data is unstructured, right? And while it's digital, it's not machine readable, which means that it lives in some type of digital format, but it's rather useless. There's no way of really processing it. Think of a PDF. If there's a document that was scanned and it's digital, but there's no way of interpreting the various titles or the footnotes, you can't really understand the things or the semantics of the document, then it's only useful for a human, but it's not useful for a machine. It's not useful for any automated process that could really leverage that data in a meaningful way. And to Daniel's point about his thoughts where machines or developers would be able to build the new accounting systems or do the accounting in general. I think one of the main reasons why we still have humans doing this is because we don't trust the machines to do it. We still trust humans, and perhaps we trust them more simply because we want to make them accountable, right? When computers make mistakes, then someone needs to take the blame. The computer does not go to jail. The computer does not, get fined. It's the owners and it's the humans behind the computers. And accounting and finance in general has that type of issue where we are at a point where not only are there real technical challenges, that is, there are real setbacks in this digital transformation as it pertains to most of the world's data. It's still unstructured. It's still not machine readable. It's digital, but it's not useful. And on the other hand, you have the accountability aspect where we haven't evolved enough, I think, as a society to trust machines or to trust companies that own machines and make them responsible for these types of tasks. And you'll continue to see knowledge workers. You'll continue to see humans involved in these processes up to the point where we've reached that level of consensus that AI is to be trusted, that technology is at a state where it can take over jobs that perhaps humans were more accountable for doing it. And more importantly, that big data becomes useful, that it becomes more structured and a proper input for the future of AI.
But this raises a very interesting point, and I would like to know it from you, Armando, as an expert in AI and big data. What you say now, that the people are relying on AI because they want to have somebody who is accountable for this. But it is not the human being who is behind it, who write the algorithm, who write the code, will be really accountable if it is right or wrong. Or how is the evolution of AI bring it will be self-learning? Because again, definitely I agree with you. To have a clean data, unstructured data, we cannot do anything with it in AI. You need to have it proper labeled, and you need to have, and this is cost a lot of money and time from corporate really to have a proper labeled data and clean set of data. But again, to go back to your point about who is accountable, it is not the engineers or programmers who write the code will be accountable for this, or are we going to a direction where the AI will be self-learning, self-independent, and will not really look at, go back to the code where it is the principle is there and the right is there to take a decision on that. Can you give us a little bit more information? This is a very interesting topic.
Yeah, I mean, I still think that we have a society that relies on humans, right? And we're a tribal society, and we have structures. But when was the last time you saw a developer go to jail, because a process failed to ring the alarms on time on a factory fire, or when was the last time you saw a developer go to jail on a financial scandal, right? That's not who we're prosecuting. We're prosecuting those that own the process, right? That are responsible for monitoring an activity and ultimately have taken ownership, either due to their title or the responsibility or the contract that they have with their customers, whether they're internal, external, or the constituents of a country. And I think that will continue to be the case. I do not imagine that we will suddenly start blaming the AI or the computer for the things that happen, right? It'll surely, bugs and other coding errors will cause problems, but the reason why we still hold humans and decision makers accountable is so that someone is taking responsibility and ensuring that there are checks and balances and proper security measures or verification processes, that there's a good risk management strategy, regardless of whatever AI technology you choose, whether you believe it's at a state where it solves problems at a grand scale or not. I did warn that I do believe there's tons of shortcomings in AI, and I believe there are way too many machine learning programs out there that nobody understands, and nobody knows why they exist and what they do, and nobody can even debug them in any way. And it doesn't make them right, it doesn't make them wrong, but the fact is that we can't rely purely on programs that are built and that become black boxes.
Okay, well, there's a whole bunch of things to dissect and all of that. AI is used in many ways because sometimes just things that happen programmatically, responding to different input, is essentially the basics of AI, right? What you go far beyond that, I understand as I've looked at the tech in your company page. Where I'm disconnecting with you a little bit is like, yes, there is that much data, right? And hey, the huge amounts of some of that data may also be usable, right? I like to think of the old "how do you eat an elephant," which is the one bite at a time. So you start with the things that are more structured, and you figure out the ways that you can do stuff with that. Meanwhile, there's other sides of your business yourself or other people working on ways to get through that mine. Like when they came across a mineral that they couldn't get through with a hammer and a chisel, they figured out a different way to get into it. So it's mining at things that you don't know what's there at the bottom of the ocean with equipment that you don't have yet in some ways, or equipment that you have but you're just not sure that all of the different ways to apply it. And this is where transformation comes into play as well, right? Because today, unlike, well, even 10 years ago, but unlike before that, there are so many things being worked on by so many people that if everybody stops competing, then and you start to collaborate, there's an awful lot more that can get done. And that's where an industrial revolution starts to come into play, right? Like if you take the original Henry Ford assembly line, and then you apply just-in-time delivery instead of having vast stockpiles of things to pile up, and suddenly in 100 years' time, you've increased in efficiencies and decreased costs and so on and so forth. And I mean, I was being facetious when I was talking about getting rid of accountants, but there are things from accounting and lawyering perspectives that today's blockchain is starting to also enable us to bypass, right? Smart contracts, right? Which are just another program. So this comes back to what you were saying, where I have the biggest gap of a question is about developers' responsibility. Because while we always hear people say, well, we are where we are, but we know where we were, and we kind of know vaguely where we want to get to. So let's not go backwards. Let's remember what we've learned before, right? And if we take an overall look at developer, if the company that delivers the tax software delivers everybody's tax late, say in any state, then that company is going to have liability that somehow protects the people whose taxes were done late, as opposed to everybody owing a late fee to the government, right? There'd be a class action, or there'd be a mea culpa, and they'd give money back, right? So all of these things can get better. But when you're looking at things like a smart contract, which is created by a developer, right? And in the DeFi space where I work, they're anonymous, right? So the data is getting even worse, Armando, right? It's structured and it's there, but you can't actually attach it to anybody, right? So the ability to use that to accomplish what we want, to eliminate steps and processes and expenses, is one of the things that we want to do. But I want to find ways where AI can help to identify, like humans audit a smart contract, humans audit a program, right? If you can actually run it through enough times and have AI look for the anomalies, the same way as, I can't think of it, and I'm sure you know the name. There is an algorithm in the financial sector that looks up and down at the sets of transactions, and then like a flashing light, it says, yeah, this stuff isn't legitimate, or yeah, this stuff is likely to be legitimate, right? This type of stuff, like, this is the really cool things about AI that people don't know about, and they otherwise get afraid. But do you know that algorithm that I mean? For this is the connection back into that security.
Okay.
I mean, there's definitely different processes, right? I mean, that are designed for that. I mean, one way of doing that is through machine learning, right? But I, kind of getting deeper into the whole discussion. I mean, when we think about digital transformation, one of the points I was trying to make is that if we haven't been able to truly transform data into something useful, right, then we can't really expect our societies are going to be able to leverage technology in a more widespread way of solving problems, right? And when most of the world's big data is unstructured, you can't, and you realize that data includes invoices, or it includes contracts. They don't have to be smart contracts, just the good old traditional contracts that people and companies and organizations sign, and they're all textual, but in a digital format, unusable. Then we have real gaps in the understanding of the information spectrum. And yes, it's true that we built most of our processes around structured data, and Salesforce is a very good example of a company that is successful at creating a big business and solving problems by using structured data that every human adds around customers and sales that they do. And other business intelligence companies of the early 80s and 90s, right, benefited from financial data that was easier to program and work within relational databases. But I think that the digital transformation that we need to go through and next is really going to be around unstructured content. And it's going to be about voice. It's going to be about language. It's about this conversation that we're having, transcribing it, being able to analyze it in the future, analyze our tone, our emotional aspects, or any other property of any type of human interaction that today is being recorded digitally but is not useful. I think that to me continues to be the foundation for all these and the problem we need to solve in order to enable the AIs of the world that we talk about and be able to really take advantage of this transformation.
Yeah, I believe, Armando, what you say all about this, the future, it's coming with the AI by understanding voice and the sentiment analytic power of AI. It's already there. It's utilized, but I think it needs still a lot of improvement in order to understand the unstructured data, the big amount of unstructured data, how to make sense out of it. And this is very interesting subject also, and it is take us to the next, let's say, topic I would like to discuss with you. It's the 4th industry revolution. We have the automation, robotic, AI utilized to productivity, as we say at the beginning of the panel, that okay, we are really putting tech to help us to improve our life and to increase our productivity. And blockchain, AI, IoT. There's one study or statistic I read last time that we are expecting in the next 5 years to have over than 70 billion devices, IoT devices connected to the network. And with the 5G capability, will be of data there, what we can utilize, a huge amount of sensor around the world. But on the other hand, will open a big attack surface for criminal to utilize this against us. Now, on the other hand, I want to hear from you how we can utilize this tech actually and in our benefit in terms of improving our life, digital transformation, and the way forward.
Well, if I can start it off by saying all of those attack points are already there. It only just gets worse and more and bigger every day, and you plug holes and other people find ways in. So you can spend your life obsessing and hiding under your mattress, or you can be smart and cautious and move forward. And that's kind of what we're trying to do, right? When we come back to touch back again on how blockchain delivers this, understand critically, everybody, that cryptocurrency and blockchain, I know you both know, but just for the whole audience, these are not the same thing, right? Blockchain is a holy piece of magic in the world of computing technology for businesses and data, plain and simple. It gives us the ability to actually have an immutable version of the truth. Right there, the capability now exists that once it has been proven and agreed that this is 1 + 1 = 2, and that is embedded in the blockchain, and the fact that you put it there in the first place can never be changed. People can add information after the fact, right? So I love this idea.
Right? Integrity of the data.
Well, the immutability, right? You can put something there and have it not change. You can attest to it, right? We're talking, Armando, you're talking about, really interesting when you think about the different layers. We can have this video conference transcribed, right? And here's everything, even if it's printed out in nice English or multiple languages, it's flat. Right, there's no tone involved. We could have something that helps to interpret the tone. We can watch the video to know, etc. But once this is released on wherever the platforms that Intelligent HQ and Open Business Council put their stuff, which is all over the place, including Vimeo and YouTube and so on. Once it's there, it's copyable, it's changeable, right? You could do that. Look at the background that you two have screens to do a deep fake on, right? So we could do the, put Tom Cruise's words in Armando's mouth and put it out there and say that was the case. Now that can always happen, but a record could also be made, and a permanent storage of this on storage owned by the copyright owner of the video, and can create a blockchain record, which is essentially an NFT. Right? Well, to me, the 3 most misunderstood letters in the entire universe in the past year or 2, and the 3 most critical letters to help actually drive a 4th industrial revolution, where people can take things into their own hands and people can control their own data, right? Whether it's my own record and my own profile, I can create an NFT for very small amount of money. Here is a record on the blockchain, and that's me. This is this video. This is the source where it is. So no matter who does anything else with it, they always can point directly at the source, right? And that is immutable, right? That can't be changed. It can't be like NFT, the record of ownership of a piece of land, the record of somebody's birth, the record of somebody's visa, of somebody's education, right? These non-fungible tokens where we can mint a single piece of cryptocurrency that is data that is mine and in my control, right? That's the next step to us taking back the advertising, by making them pay us for our information if they want it, or they can send us inaccurate information, creating vehicles to do this, to actually, all of this internet stuff has given us all kinds of really cool stuff, and it's made a bunch of guys really rich. Right? All of the cryptocurrency has made a bunch of guys really rich, so much so that they can buy coins that are useless and get people excited about it, because they're, if you got 500 million and 5 years ago you had $10,000, you play. What else are you going to do on a cloudy day, right? So we have that stuff happening. People manipulating for fun. We have criminals that are trying to get at every piece of that IoT tech that you were talking about, Aggie, right? And trying to exploit it. And we have people who are the only final safeguard of protection, because they're looking at they're looking at the data that Armando is talking about, right? Because they are needed to do that final type of assessment for the trust of AI to be eventually in place. Those are the people whose businesses and shopping habits, Aggie, that we're trying to transform, or to whom our transformation is meant to deliver, right? And the vast amount of capabilities out there, the people that are buying and selling things on the stock market and the crypto sector, it's almost like the ones who are buying lottery tickets sometimes, right? It's frightening.
Speculation, right? Yeah, I mean,
but it's there, and it never goes away. So the interest is in it because of the value. So forget about NFT as art. Forget about cryptocurrency as speculation. Don't you see the blockchain as the new assembly line?
The blockchain, I will say, I will tell you, I agree and disagree with you on what you say. First of all, my point of view on this, that the tech, it can be the cure for a lot of problem, but at the same time, like can be really the enemy. As you say, it depends on which hand will be. As you mentioned, there is a lot of scammers and a lot of people make, like with fake coin or fake project, a lot of money. But on the other hand, there is in blockchain, it's really a good problem to solve with the blockchain. As you see it, like one of the important part is, as you mentioned, land department record to put it on blockchain. There's a lot of country. One of them is Dubai. They already implemented where I'm living now. Actually, they utilize a lot of benefit of blockchain to really, again, utilize the maximum security, integrity, immunity of the blockchain in the good faith. On the other hand, there's a lot of bad actors who use it in different way. And this is where we need to really be conscious about where the application will go. What is the technology we need to apply? And, excuse me, Armando, you want to say something?
I'm sorry, Armando. I really wanted to counter something there. Aggie, you're talking more about people that are doing those things are doing that with cryptocurrency and creating scams and things like that, right? And there's no more scams in that world than there is in the real world, right? Of non-crypto, back with fiat and everything else. I mean, Bernie Madoff is just one of those things, and for the billions he stole, and the crypto queen in the OneCoin space is another bunch of billions. But it's not just that. Blockchain itself isn't just this thing. Blockchain is the new highway of where you're driving down the road, and when the sign says turn here and you'll go to Munich, and you will, right? And it's now up to all of these businesses to figure out the ways that they can utilize it the way that it gives them to. And the more they do that, the more easy Armando's job is going to be, I think, which is going to control viewpoints of data.
Yeah, I would argue that blockchain is going to play an important part, but it's perhaps a lesser part than we've advertised. I mean, if you decompile the whole concept of we're in an industrial revolution, the first revolution was all about steam power and water power and creating basic machines. The second revolution was about mass production and leveraging electricity, right? The third revolution was about automation and creating robots and assembly lines that could effectively automate, complex, expensive processes. And now this fourth revolution is such a big mix of IoT / big data, AI, now blockchain. Suddenly we're talking cryptocurrencies. And while it's still undefined, I do think that crypto specifically is deviating the conversation of the value of the blockchain. And cryptocurrencies are nothing more than speculative assets these days, right? No different than the penny stock scams that we used to see, in the 80s and 90s, right? So blockchain, I think, is going to be memorable in that we will always need a place to look for, truth. And we will always need systems that give us the final, set of facts, or serve as a way of maintaining an open record of reality, given how easy it is for people to manipulate, the media, and how easy it is to manipulate and change information online. As we spoke about, even just changing, anything that's posted on YouTube or Facebook or any social media these days, it's some people, the fact that they see it there now, believe it as reality, and which is another problem. But eventually, systems of trust are going to be required as the world gets more complex. And I do think it's going to play a big part in that. But it won't happen until it becomes truly decoupled or associated with this concept of speculative digital assets.
Oh, there's far, far more than that already. I mean, this is a well-evolved industry, so I'm going to have to really disagree. Just the context that I was stating alone about creating non-fungible tokens for the purpose of transferring ownership, proving documentation, etc. That alone completely decouples from cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is an oil for the engine, and yeah, there are a lot of these things that are speculative. But
the argument would be, Daniel, that, for instance, today, especially in the financial industry, the hype was all around the use of blockchain for maintaining a ledger. And we've proven, unfortunately, that you can do a lot of these things better, more efficiently with more traditional databases. In fact, blockchains are very rarely used at the moment in any traditional institutional financial investment banking, right? And even retail banking. And that's the challenge, right? In that we're still learning, we're still trying to figure out how we can leverage these technologies. They're not really being used in the way that we thought they would. They're mostly being leveraged in crypto trading, which is fair. It is where it is. But it doesn't mean that blockchain is going to be the answer to a lot of the trust issues and the sort of accounting issues that we need as part of this industrial revolution, this fourth industrial revolution.
Well, again, the part where I'd counter there is that using a public, trusted, reliable, identified, and known on consistent blockchain like the Bitcoin blockchain or the Ethereum network to transfer data is you're using these to create a trustless system. You don't need to have, or you add that last mile of trust on everything that the actual human trust systems have had to deliver to before. So I really think that it's a cap on it. I agree with you that blockchain is not being used the way that it was hyped and heralded, but I mean, I've spent 40 years of watching really cool stuff come out and getting sold or used wrong in businesses, right? If you take something like SAP, right? The most money made in the world on SAP is by companies customizing SAP for customers. The original concept of SAP is here, do stuff this way, change your business to follow these basic processes that are automated, and you can do it fast and easy. Now, if you don't do that, instead you spend the same amount of money in fees and maintenance and everything year on year on. So and this is my entire career, is the right application of tech, right? So you're right. And if you're trying to create your own private blockchain, you're not creating a something that's actually delivering in the spirit of what the blockchain can do. When it's something that's out there and it can't be changed, right? Now, part of the resistance in the traditional sectors is the same resistance as they have to fintech. Right? It disrupts what they do. They want to do stuff the way that they do it. Automakers prefer to make internal combustion engines because it's easier and they don't have to spend as much money to do it, right? It's the way businesses work. They're being disrupted. They will change. Some of them will do it better than the disruptors are, and others will die. But what, from the crypto perspective alone, it can't be dismissed because you are talking more capital in crypto than the value of Apple, the largest company in the world. So it's different today. Aghi, why am I wrong?
Yes. I want really, it is very interesting subject you're saying, and we can, I think, debate it for the next 2 hours, but I'm very conscious about the time. We have like 45 minutes left. And what I really want today also for our viewer and benefit of our viewer, really to give them some tip from the experience you have, gentlemen, how they can improve their businesses, how they can utilize the technology, what they can do right, what is your tips and tricks, let's say, in the last 15 minutes about how we can be better on what we're doing, utilizing the technology, whatever, if it's blockchain or IoT technology or AI. What is your tip? What you will say to our viewer as a takeaway in the last 15 minutes we have?
I'm happy to start. I think if there's something to take away is really that data matters, right? We need to accept that we live in a very complicated world, and making decisions off of our own, cognitive biases or just our own very subjective, limited perspective of the world is doomed for failure, right? And I think this is a tip or a suggestion to every politician out there that doesn't believe in science or the scientific process, or is not willing to take into account, data and information gathering as part of their decision-making process. So I think that it's going to be key for everyone that has an important position in our society, whether it's political, business, or financial, but also for those of us that are trying to make a living out there and really trying to make a difference in whatever capacity we can, trying to make sure that there is a way of incorporating information and more importantly incorporating big data, not just the data that I like or the data that is easy to get, but really trying to have a multi-factor approach, which is hard in itself to think about, but trying to ensure that there's a little more objectivity put into whatever we do. I think that's going to take us a long way. And there's many tools out there, and there are many services out there that can help you do that. So if you really want to take advantage of this tip, then it's at your disposal.
Very, very, very interesting. I want to really answer one of questions we received now from our viewer, and they asked a very nice question actually. How the fourth industrial revolution will influence the way how we work? This is a question for Armando, and Daniel came from one of our viewer. How will 4AR influence how we work exactly? It's from Steven Sylvia, okay. One of our viewer. Do you want to start, Daniel?
Sure. I'll try to be brief, but I hope it's going to influence how we work more than any of the other industrial revolutions before it, by letting us be a bigger part of deciding how and what we do, right? The fact is, 10 years ago, we had enough information, not data, information, right? To find the answers to stuff. We had enough sources to go after it, right? 5 years ago, we had enough ways that it was being delivered to us. 5 years on, like today, we have 2, 3, 5, 10 times more of both than we actually need. That doesn't mean that we don't want them or don't deserve them. I mean, you can go to a shopping store, grocery store in America and have 50 different types of orange juice of all kinds of different flavors and stuff. And I can go to the one in Germany where I might get 6, right? And if the consumer demands 50 here, they'll get 50 here too. Maybe, but banking stuff here is nothing as fancy as it was when I was living in the UK. And in Nigeria, I can bank electronically at speeds that are just practically instant, and they make the UK look slow, let alone how it works here in Germany. But access everywhere to all of this stuff to help people, right? To have people being a part of it. Access everywhere where people don't have access isn't going to happen, right? The people that are unbanked aren't going to suddenly be online and banked, right? So the elements of those things, this can't impact everything everywhere or we'll get distracted. Where it is in place, how can we be involved in making it work better so that we can actually nurture talent and grow, and rather than like certainly the third and likely the second industrial revolution were done by the makers for themselves to make more money and to get more stuff done. And now we're in a place where we'd like to have some of more of that wealth shared, and would like to make less of the stuff that we don't need because we're running out of places to throw it away, right? So how does it do that is only if people are listened to, I think. Armando?
Yeah. I don't think you can ever have too much data. You can certainly have too much information, but there's never enough data, right? And the better we get at obviously at AI and just statistical analysis, period, the more we're going to be able to leverage data to make more informed decisions. And how, going back to the original question, how will that influence the Industrial Revolution? If I understand the question correctly, relative to work, I think it's going to have an immediate, and as it is already, an immediate impact on the knowledge worker, right? The individual that relies on looking at screens and working with data, working with text processors, et cetera. We're seeing it already. The pandemic is forcing us to advance even further in the way we think about work and where work is performed. There will be other sectors and other areas in the economy that will continue exactly the way they are today, and they'll probably remain this way for the next foreseeable future. Whether it's tourism or services or transportation, logistics, et cetera. So none of these things I think are going to change dramatically just yet. But I think it's going to, I think the fact that we are embracing technology more and more in every industry is certainly forcing us to think about, the role that humans play in those sectors. There's an author that I like very much that his name is Yuval Harari, and he's well known for labeling, a part of our society as the useless class, right? That we are creating a useless class of individuals where the digital transformation is getting rid of those jobs and processes that were done by these individuals. And it'll get to a point where there's simply nothing for them to do unless they rethink themselves and they, re-engineer themselves in a way. But everything seems to point towards information technology. In one shape or form, every human being in the next 50 to 100 years will work in IT, right? I think that's inevitable, right?
It's you want to say, Armando, like really the force AR will influence the way how people think, and then they need to say, okay, I need to improve or lose my job eventually, because if automation is there, AI there will take over. I don't believe that will take over of our job or a lot of job. It will automate a lot of things where it will push this low or blue level workers really need to learn new skills and upgrade their knowledge base, education, and upgrade their skill set in order to move higher and operate all this machine. And correct? Is this what you want to?
There's no job that we can't foresee a machine being able to do, I think, right? As if you were to think deep into it, there's no job that eventually a computer, whether it's software or hardware, shouldn't be able to do better, exponentially better than any human being. That I think that's where we're going. But of course, we still have humans in the equation, right? And we don't want, I think, we don't want machines to feel for us. We don't want machines to think for us in the grand scheme of things. We want to survive as a species. So that's a different problem. But it has nothing to do with work. It has nothing to do with the limitations of technology around processes that we invented to survive, right? I think those will be, for sure, overtaken by the technologies that we're building. And we will have, hopefully, more time to think about other problems, right? That relate to the way, we treat each other, or the way we work with each other in a more philosophical way rather than a commercial way.
Daniel, you have anything to add to this point?
I don't want to argue with Armando, because I don't disagree that eventually that's something that should be where we should be able to go. And I'm not going to get into the politics of people and how they always get in the way of doing things. But I do think that there's so many more opportunities available to people. There are so many things that people can do that are just things that you couldn't dream of before. Stuff that I might have wanted to do back in 1980 as a bright young guy working with computers. Their computers were too expensive. Right now, the stuff that people can do, the things and the opportunities that they can take. There's a lot of the old things that we appreciate, like 2 TV channels only. And having to walk across the room to go to the other one and hope it had something on. If you compare so many little things of life to today, to forward and backwards, they're improved. But there's elements that worry me, Armando. It's like a calculator, right? I went to school and I learned how to do math without a calculator, so it's easy to do numbers, right? It doesn't. These are lost skills. Now, people will argue that there's lost skills in grammar, right? People use your and you're wrong, and then they misunderstand English. Well, a lot of it is in English. Everybody is not in your community is English as a first language anymore, and the ones who are English just either don't know or don't care. But I don't mind sloppiness in text, even if I'm pedantic and it always hurts me a little bit inside. I ignore it. I don't correct it. Numbers need to be correct. Right? A transposition of a decimal point one direction or another, the wrong placement of a 1 here and there can result in vast differences, losses, and so on and so forth, right? So it's the numbers that we need to worry about, and it's the security of those numbers, and it's things like your blockchain is complicated for the mainstream because there's all this wallet and all these other things, right? But I mean, bank accounts used to be complicated too. Right? And this stuff changes exponentially how it goes forward. So using these as access points into the other spaces, using it to figure out how you can start to, like, you're not going to use a blockchain to replace your back office Oracle databases with hundreds of terabytes of data, right? But you are going to use a blockchain to say, this is the number, right? These are the signatures. Nobody can argue it. Right,
Daniel,
that's the exciting stuff.
Daniel, I will make sure that we will have other discussion about blockchain, that we can explain a lot of the pro and con of the blockchain, because I'm also myself a big fan of the tech itself, not the cryptocurrency, the tech and what it can bring for us. Definitely we'll have an offline discussion on that. Now, only just for respect of time, we have the last 2 minutes. I would like really to thank you a lot, Armando and Daniel. I learned a lot today, and I hope also we could add some value also to our viewers. I would like to thank the Open Business Council team to make this really happen. A great event, great thought leader, a lot of interesting discussion, and we still have more to come. Thank you very much, gentlemen, and to everybody watching us. Please feel free to reach out, visit our website, the Open Business Council website. You will see all the speakers, and you can connect with us over LinkedIn or any social media you like. If you have any further information you would like to know or need to discuss with us something offline, we are happy to do this. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you for your time. And I really enjoyed today our discussion. It was a great subject, and we can go on and on about this topic, but we are now at the end of our panel today. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks very much to our audience. It's a pleasure, Armando, Aggie. You did a great job. The Open Business Council folks, as would only be expected. Thank you.
Likewise, Daniel. Thanks, Aghiath.